Greetings, friends. I don't know about you, but I've picked up a new hobby this last 6, 7 months or so. And my hobby is plants. I've picked up quite a few new plants, and I want to show you a few. This one is called a sensitive plant, and it's called that not because you can hurt its feelings, but because if you touch it, it will start to close up. Hoping that's, you can see that there. Some of these up here have closed up because there's not enough natural light in this room. They close up when it's dark, so there goes those. If you can't see it super well in this video and you're interested, you can just YouTube it. There's lots. So that's my sensitive plant. I also have a thing for haworthias. I really like these plants. They're a type of succulent because they hold a lot of water in these leaves. And this one I think is particularly cool. These leaves are really thick, and it's important for me to not water these too much because if I did, they'd just get soggy and droopy and die. So that's one of my haworthias. It's really cool. Now this plant is called a polka dot plant. And I do not know what is wrong with it. I've had it for several weeks, and when I bought it, it was beautiful, lots of colors, and it was full, lots and lots of leaves, but slowly these leaves have been falling off. Oh, here's a dead one that fell off recently. There's maybe a tiny bit of new growth, but I don't know what's wrong with it. And I've read up on them, but I can't seem to figure out how to make this plant happy in my house, and I'm afraid it might not make it. But those are 3 of my plants. A good gardener needs to know her plants. She needs to know how much water they need. If I gave that haworthia too much water, it would shrivel up and get soggy and die. This sensitive plant needs to be in a good amount of light. A good gardener needs to know what kind of light is best, how to make the plant thrive. She needs to know signs that something is wrong with the plant and how to resolve the problem. I know a lot about my plants, but I also have Google to help me figure things out. And I had to learn about my plants. God, on the other hand, knows us without needing Google or access to our social media pages. He knows us better than we even know ourselves. He doesn't need to learn about you. He made you. Scripture tells us he knows every hair on your head. He knows you better than any personality inventory like Myers-Briggs or the Enneagram. God knowing us, and in fact knowing all things, is called omniscience. Omni is Latin for all, and scientia, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, is Latin for knowledge. It's where we get the word science. God is all-knowing, and in particular, the Psalms reflect on how God is all-knowing in regards to his people. And Psalm 139 is possibly the most well-known expression of God being all-knowing. Let me read to you the first 7 verses here of Psalm 139. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far away. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely. You hem me in behind and before and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It's so high that I cannot attain it. These words from David to God express that David knows he is known. Why does it matter if God knows all, particularly that he knows all about you? It matters because it's one of the things that makes him God, but it also makes him a God we can trust. We all have a great God-given desire to be known. This need is partly met in human relationships, but no human relationship can compare to the knowledge, the well-acquainted knowing God has of you. This should be freeing news. There's no hiding from God who you are. While that could seem daunting to some, the good news is that He knows you and loves you. He knows you struggle with that sin and He loves you. He knows that you have that particular weakness and He loves you. There's no hiding from this God of love. This is why the psalmist proclaims that such knowledge is too wonderful. It is something that is mysterious, impossible to comprehend, that we would be known so intimately and loved. The psalmist goes on to describe God who is not only omniscient, but is also omnipresent. Omni again meaning all, and present meaning present. He is at once in all places. This is another mystery of who God is. We cannot comprehend the omniscience or omnipresence of God, but that is precisely why He is God and we are not. We live in faith because we cannot box God into something we can fully comprehend. If we could comprehend Him, He would cease to be God. Let me now read for you these next verses of Psalm 139 and notice where God is, His omnipresence. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light around me become night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is not as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. For it was you who formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works that I know very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes beheld my unformed substance. In your book were written all the days that were formed for me, when none of them as yet existed. How weighty to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. I try to count them. They are more than the sand. I come to the end. I am still with you. I am still with you. That word with is one of the most significant words in Christian faith. Those 4 letters in English hold weighty theology. We find this word in the very name God gives His Son, Emmanuel, God with us. Omnipresence, God with us. With you at Faith Covenant Church. With you at Holy Community. With you at home. With my parents who I can't see on the other side of the border. With my kids who are trying to stay quiet while I preach this sermon. God with you, with me, with every single person on this earth. And there's no place you can go to escape Him. You can go up into the heavens. He's there. You can go to Sheol, which is understood as a place of darkness and death. He's there. He is with you in the light. He is with you in the dark. He was with you as cells divided and divided and divided in your mother's womb. In fact, He did the work of creating you, causing those cells to multiply. Before you were you, God was with you. He beheld your unformed substance. This is nothing short of awesome. Not only does God know you, His very presence is with you at all times and in all places. This ought to make a difference in 2 ways. First, it means we can't hide anything from an all-knowing, ever-present God. So excuses and blame shifting don't work. He knows. He sees. This should impact how we behave, not because we're afraid of God. He is loving and abounding in grace. But precisely because of that love and grace, we should behave in ways that honor Him. Secondly, the presence of God ought to bring you great comfort and joy. You are not alone. It's possible to be in a crowd of people, maybe not in 2020, and still feel alone. But you are not alone. No matter your physical location and who or who isn't around you, you are not alone. It would be nice to wrap up this sermon on that note because the psalm takes a sharp turn here at verse 19. So far, the first 18 verses are perfect Christian bookstore quotes, but the next 4 verses won't be found on any bumper sticker or coffee mug. They are imprecatory words. Imprecatory psalms are the psalms of cursing enemies. These are the cursing words from Psalm 139. Oh, that you would kill the wicked, O God, and that the bloodthirsty would depart from me. Those who speak of you maliciously and lift themselves up against you for evil. Do I not hate those who hate you, O Lord, and do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with perfect hatred. I count them my enemies. I told you we were about to take a sharp turn. We go from the beautiful words of God knowing us and being with us to cursing enemies. If I may go back to the plant metaphor I used earlier, I spoke of how I know my plants and I need to know them in order to care for them. One thing I need to know and be on the lookout for are plant enemies. These are otherwise known as pests, insects that can infest a plant and destroy it. Aphids, mealybugs, scale, thrips. Not only are these enemies of my plants, they are my enemies too. So when the psalmist says to God, oh, that you will kill the wicked, he's asking God to destroy the people who are destroying him. He hates those who would destroy him and calls on God to do something about it. It's like a plant that begins to wither. It's calling out for the gardener to do something about the pests that are trying to kill it. The plant can only do so much to defend itself. It needs the gardener to wash the bugs off, treat it with the proper remedy, and bring it back to health. The psalmist needs God to act on his behalf. And this all comes in the context of God knowing David and being with David. David is known by God and God is with him. In this context, there is nothing David needs to hold back from God. I have a terrible habit of praying what I think I should pray instead of praying what is truly on my mind. This pandemic has helped me to practice praying more authentically. Instead of editing my prayers, I'm telling God how rotten I think all this is. I'm letting him know when I feel scared. I even tell him who I think should win the US election next month. Why should I bother holding back from the one who knows me and is with me? This psalm assures us that God knows your thoughts, has been with you in every moment of your life, so we can come to God with all that we are, the messy, the ugly, the sinful, as well as the grateful, the hopeful, the joyful. David concludes this psalm with these words, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my thoughts. See if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." After calling down ruin upon his enemies, he asks that God would also destroy the wicked that lives within him. He's humble enough to know that he isn't all put together. He isn't perfect. So he asks God, who knows him and who walks with him, to lead him to everlasting life. Here the words read, the way everlasting. Other translations have the road or the path of everlasting life. May this be our prayer as well, because the one who knows you and is with you calls you to follow him on this journey. Amen.